there seems to be a lull in the Delphi murders. I mean, there's still these wild conspiracy theories from, I say, the left and the right. That's what I call it, all this non-center stuff. Of course, what is the center? You never can tell with these cases. I guess that's why there is such a variety of thought. I say conspiracy theories, and some of it is, but it's a wide variety of thought. Okay, so I'm just checking in. I say that I kind of to me whenever law enforcement arrested Richard Allen, and I've heard I've heard a lot of people, including today on the Murder Sheet podcast, they interviewed, I think, someone Western, from the western part of the United States, that was a defense lawyer. And of course he made this point that a lot of people make, is that with the weight and gravity of this case, you could not even imagine making an arrest in this case that you couldn't prosecute. They talked about the probability clause, probably whatever it is, a PCA that's written for search warrants. I think that defense lawyer has some challenges with that, or potential challenges. Of course, the way that it went about, the process with which the law enforcement officials investigating this case carried out getting the search warrant was probably more beneficial than other ways that could have happened, or other ways that it could have went down. So that's what the lawyer, the defense lawyer on Murder Sheet was saying in part. But the point about arresting Richard Allen is I get that. I mean, there's no way that with such big brains out there with the Marshal Service and the Indiana State Police and Carroll County, and Delphi probably has a seat at the table on this. I mean, and the FBI, I'm sure. So there's so many big brains that are attached to this thing one way or the other, and I just can't see the arrest being made and all the stuff that's went down, the huge amount of the bail and the fact that there was no bail. I mean, and the brevity of information that we've seen on the probable cause. I mean, it looks pretty serious for Mr. Richard Allen, and but now McClelland's statement that he threw out there, we believe that there may be other actors involved. That has opened up the door for many hours of conversation, and I don't think anything has been settled yet on exactly what it means. There's versions of it that suggest that it is about, maybe someone met him down the hill and they did the murder. Perhaps. Perhaps it's that someone gave him information that the girls were going to be there. Perhaps. It's perhaps something to do with things that happened after the murders, and that someone was covering for somebody. Maybe someone heard something or knew something early on and just never really turned it in, or kept their mouth quiet. I don't know. There's some information today that I heard that was new. New. Well, it's not new. It's just that you can look at it in a different light right now. Different light than what you could not so long ago. Well, one thing that I have learned, I'm gonna have some coffee. This is Cafe du Monde. Purchased in New Orleans. Absolutely delicious. Anyway, So what does this mean? What does this other actors involved mean? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I see. I mean, you know, there's just. I mean, just if you just look, like Tina and I were talking today, if you just look at the people with which this search warrant has been, you know, enacted upon, executed, you know, and there's been 3 people probably tied to this case over the years. That is, that they've received some kind of a search at their house, and there's probably more, but we know of at least 3. Those are the wide-ranging ones, and they're all for different reasons. Number 1 is Kegan Kline. His house was searched, all of his electronics taken, just a couple of weeks after the murders. Of course, he wasn't arrested for 3 years after that, or some kind of a wild insanity. But you know, sometimes it takes a while to build these cases, and I think we may say that with Richard Allen as well. It's going to take longer than we thought it might. So you had Kegan, then next, a month or so out from the murders, wasn't it? I don't know, a month and a half, a month and a week. Mr. Ron Logan, and we just got a hold of that PCA search warrant request a few months ago. Man, and what did we learn from that? I mean, we learned all kinds of things about the murder scene, about you know, Ron Logan's supposed whereabouts, which, you know, a lot of people would tell you they think that seems kind of suspicious in that, can they really put him there at the murder scene? And, you know, suspicious as to actually what the data means, what they actually have. I mean, even these days, 6 years later almost, you know, a lot of tracking is not that accurate, but it's getting better out here. And maybe they're able to go back and look at data, you know, with the new lens they have, the new search capabilities, ways that they can interact with the data. And maybe they can put Ron Logan down. There may be that. That's one of the theories that are out there right now, that Ron Logan and Richard Allen were involved. And really, excuse me, yes, that's actually true. And then also, if you look at the other person, which there was a search warrant executed at their home or their location where they lived. We had Ron Logan first, and we had Kegan Kline. I like calling him Keegan. I don't know why. I guess Kegan sounds much better for him. Some kind of, what it was, a strip bar or something. But anyway, we had Kegan, and then we had Richard Allen most recently. And boy, we learned a lot from that one. He put himself on the scene. He was wearing the clothes that bridge guy was wearing walking across the bridge. At that time of day, on that day, he has a Sig Sauer. There was a 40 caliber bullet fit for a Sig Sauer 40 caliber, which he had, which they say even has tool markings on that bullet, on that shell, on that cartridge, that say that bullet, that cartridge that they found there on scene, is tied directly to Mr. Richard Allen's gun, and he says he's never loaned it to anybody and it's never been stolen. So, I hate to talk about Murder Sheet again, but pulled them back up again today as a previous one I missed, and it was about a guy. They had interviewed a guy, and I'm horrible with names. I barely can remember my own. I'm much older than you folks, though. I'm my 50s, man. Come on, you got to give me a little bit. But anyway, they had a guy on there that this guy, he sounded very much like he knew what was going on. I mean, if you just listen to his voice, you could just hear this guy was, he's not like me. He's not just kind of dragging it out. Well, I went down the street yesterday, man. I saw some moon turn into the sun, and this guy is like just rapid fire, And it wasn't the wrong stuff either, It wasn't mistakes. This guy was, he was throwing it out there. Like, he really knew what he was talking about. And he identified on a gun like that it was, he identified it as a high quality weapon. It's not really like an entry level weapon. And it's not. It's not like, some a Taurus 9mm or something. This is a real gun. This thing is heavier than what you'll see with a lot of guns that you purchase, because this thing is metal. It's not carbon fiber, what have you. But there is metal there, and even with those other weapons, and even more, especially a weapon like Mr. Richard Allen has, those guns leave at least 3 identifying marks, a potential of 3 identifying marks when it goes through the weapon, when it's fed into the weapon through the magazine, where it is cocked and where the bullet is ejected. And there's little steps along the way, all the way through those processes, those 3 processes. There's something you got to put it in a magazine, the clip, put it into the weapon, and you have to put it through its action, cock it, and you do that, and it pulls a cartridge from the magazine into the firing chamber. So then you got where it comes up from the magazine. You got a mark from that. You got a mark from where it goes into the chamber, because there may be a burr on that gun. It may be that it's a little bit different than just something there on that shell, on that cartridge, the rim of the cartridge. There could be some kind of an impression there. And then the other is the removing mechanism up around right below the lip. Whenever it grabs, it's a mechanism that grabs it from the chamber after the cartridge has been fired, and it ejects it out the side. So at least 3 places that gun touched. And of course, if this one happens to be where it was new-ish, where it hasn't been fired a whole lot, where it's very, and it probably hasn't been. Fired a whole lot would mean probably over 1,000 times, 2,000 or 3,000 times. But what everybody's saying, and what I know to be true, let me have a cup of coffee. Well, I own multiple guns myself, and there are certain guns, like this. The guy on Emergency was talking about this gun. Here's kind of a safe gun, when you put in your safe and you don't just carry it out everywhere, So, and of course this gun, it's intimidating. That thing that's a big gun. It's a 40 caliber. This is not like a little 9mm. This thing here it's a pretty good shell. Think of a 45. Well, it's a little bit smaller than a 45. But it probably hasn't been fired a lot, and that thing was probably still pretty tight. All the mechanisms in it. He'd had it for a long time. As I understand, I think he probably bought it in like 2001, and this was 2017. So maybe he didn't shoot it a lot. Of course, even if he did or if he didn't, there, I have boxes of shells, cartridges that are 10, 15 years old. This may be like a box that I bought and just put it into the gun cabinet. Maybe I shot a few of those out target practicing or something, But then, I just never did use those again. I just started a new box. And there's just boxes all over the place. Of course, every once in a while you go through and you clean them out, But, if you're a casual buyer like me, I'm not going through a lot of shells on a regular basis. I'm not shooting a lot. But I still keep boxes around for a long time. You want to have extra, so you just kind of, whenever you just kind of throw them in there, So, it's not uncommon to have almost every box you ever bought, at least one or two in it. And it may not even be the ones that came in it. It may just be a box you like, So, there's all kinds of, scenarios on that, But I really think that so that gives it another point with which they can tie him to the murders. So, if he has the exact same box of shells that this thing came from, and of course, the way everything, you listen to the YouTubers, this is the general knowledge I picked up from voluminous YouTubers talking about it, is, there's a way to track down a box of shells. There's everything you buy these days. It's, lot 56, blah, 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 blah. It just goes on down, big numbers. They can tell you probably when it was made, who made it, how many were made that day. They can probably tell when you bought it. They can see your picture on a video at the, Ace Gun Shop at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon purchasing it. There's a video. There's the scan. There's your card. There's, there's from the factory to your house, to you purchasing it and taking command of it, being ownership of it. It's yours, They can be traced all along the way. So if he's purchased this and it's been traced all along the way there, and they can say, hey man, this is his shell, came from his box. This is the box right here. These are the rest of the shells. That one and 7 others just like it are in that box of 20. So if they can tie him like that and have 3 points on an ejected cartridge found on the scene with Libby's blood on it, you know what I'm saying? Anybody's blood on it. Libby's, Abby's, his. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it would be his on it. That would be the ultimate in irony right there, His bullet and his DNA on it. That would be, that would allow Doug Carter to be very cocky right there. Especially if it had Abby and Libby on there too. The 3 of them on that bullet. That would be a blessing right there. All right, so there's that. That we got that from his, and we learned some other things there from Mr. Richard Allen. And there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of things that have came out from that. I think this one that the thing that really blows me away. And let me just talk about this for a minute because it just drives me absolutely insane. I gotta have some more coffee though. My friend Tina and I, we argue about this all the time. How did number one, how did he know they were going to be there? He sure did run down there quick about the time right before they got there, That's very suspicious. Okay, but let's just say that he just got there at that time and took advantage of a situation that popped up. Say there was no planning with it. If his main objective was to kidnap them, why would he park anywhere but the cemetery? In my mind, I can't get what he was trying to do. The way that they've done the murder, one of the options in the way that they filed this felony murder against Richard Allen was that it was inclusion with some other felony, and a lot of us assume that it's kidnapping, but we don't know if that's true because it's Why would he have parked so far away? You know, and he had that gun. We can, in that video, that's one of the things that we could all agree. Inside of that blue jacket or black jacket, we could all agree that it's a blue or black jacket this dude was wearing. There was a big gun. And maybe some other things inside of there. We now know it was probably some kind of a fixed blade knife. But why did he park so far away? Why would he park that far away? I mean, what was he trying to do? See, that's the thing. So if he was going to kidnap these girls, and maybe he was. Maybe there was someone down there that could help him. I don't know we don't know what they were trying to do, what he was trying to do. They were trying to do. Of course, it could be just totally pointless because of the fact that, you know, actors involved could be many, many other things. So, we find ourselves here with this thing with this case where we really don't know exactly where it's going to right now. If you just follow what all the defense attorneys are saying, they're saying, hey, there's no way they'd make this arrest if it were not, you know, really tied to some major evidence. Maybe DNA, maybe the exact same box of shells that this bullet that was found on the cartridge found on scene came from, and it's got the 3 markings of his Sig Sauer 40 caliber weapon, and you know, and there's his DNA and Abby's DNA are on the unspent round. Well, I tell you what really bothers me is that Grey Hughes video. That thing just bothers me. Because it showed his reenactment of it. Excuse me. With his reenactment of it, I mean, you can see so much. We're reading a lot into what we're seeing. I'm seeing a person who got there deliberately. This dude rolled up and boogied down there. He didn't look at nobody, man. He was boogieing down there because he knew someone was going to be there. You know, just the way the reenactment that Grey Hughes created goes, it's very deliberate. You know, it just looks very deliberate. And we know that along that trek from his car all the way down to the bridge, he passed at least 4 people. At least 4 people. 3 teenage girls and a woman. And he didn't mess with either one of them. He went after 2 very specific girls. Maybe it was supposed to be one girl. Maybe he is tied to Keg and Klein. I don't know. But anyway, so he rushes down there and he goes up to Abby and Libby and he grabs them and he runs down, pushes them down that hill. And you know, it's timed out, just, you know, according to what was put forth in the PCA for Richard Allen's arrest. He runs all around there, does all that, straight down that hill, and then he just stays there and stays there and stays there and stays there for like an hour and a half. What in the world is he doing there with those girls for an hour and a half? We've never heard that there was any kind of an SA, but there was clothes lying all around the whole area. In the creek, a little downstream, probably caught on a stick or whatever. So there was something going on there for a long time, including we've heard from these PCAs, some staging. moving bodies around post-mortem. But the video though, man, it just stays there and stays there. Then he goes up and he walks down the road and gets in his vehicle and leaves, bloody and muddy on the side of the road. So that was the fifth person that saw him, or someone dressed like he said he was dressed when he was there at that scene. Well, that's where it's at with me right now. I mean, you know, like I said, there's all these little different parts there that we can talk about in here. This thing is immensely interesting as always. This has always been the most interesting case ever, and I think a lot of us are tied to it. You know, everybody that I talk to, you know, we all have had children that age at that time, maybe even, you know, or have them now at that age. I've talked to both sets of people like that, or that have you ever had a child and something like this happen? You know, and then you're going to want answers. You know, we don't hurt children. You know, that's just some very wicked thing. You know. These are, you know, everybody's talking right now about what's going on over in Idaho, at Moscow in Idaho, and you know, that's horrible. I mean, it's almost as bad because they're just a little bit older. They're not even 10 years older. You know, they're 7, 8 years older. I mean, they're how these girls, Abby and Libby, would be today. I think one of them was 20. You know, so man, you know, it's kind of the same thing just a few years later, but the young ones, you know, they never got to experience things. It's not like they were sick. They were given a life and health, and were taken out by what we believe is this Mr. Allen. And others that may be involved. Well, anyway, we got a lot of things coming up, man. We got some exciting shows. We've been lining up on the back, man. It's going to be exciting first of the year. Please like and subscribe to our channel, to this video. We appreciate it. It lets us know if you want to hear more content like we create. It's getting late. But I knew we couldn't produce a show. We hadn't produced anything lately, and I like to give and I think we needed a summation because of this lull in the information about Delphi. Just kind of a brief, you know, I'm just kind of telling you where I'm at. You know, I'm trying to get some feedback on where you think it's at. I mean, did the scenarios that I described, did it make sense for you? Did it? If not, what does? I mean, I want to know. There's a lot of loose ends I have. I need to tie up some things, and I probably have some things wrong. But upcoming here in the next few days, over the holidays, we have several shows lined up. One of them is going to be on Ecclesiastes. What is the name of that Bible book? I never can get it. Ecclesiastes. But this is going to be a very interesting story that we want to tell you. Now, it's going to be different. It's definitely outside of the grid, okay? But we'd like for you to give it a listen, because we're going to do some, you know, a lot of planning on it. It's not going to be just kind of a free-floating roaming like I did tonight. I mean, we're going to do a little bit more planning, and there'll be multiple people involved, and sometimes, you know, we just have to talk. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I just had to talk. I had to talk about where I was at with this Delphi thing, because I'd kind of got a little bit away from it. I was kind of drifting over more into this Idaho thing, which is, it's just as horrible. Not as, I don't like seeing it. You know, these close up personal murderers that use knives with young people. It's just weird. It's just some sick shit. As my grandma would say. And with that, I'm over and out. Happy New Year.